Roblox just changed their entire algorithm, and if you're looking to get players into your game, it would highly benefit you to watch this video to learn how this algorithm works, which is what I'm going to be explaining to you in this video. Alright, so basically this is a post from official Roblox staff, and it was posted 19 hours ago, and it says, boost your discovery with the improved recommended for you algorithm and analytics for creators. And basically what this is the new algorithm, which it relies on these things right here. And previously, the old algorithm used to rely on these things right here. So average session time, day 1 retention, day 7 retention, all of these things. And now it relies on these things, and that's the change. And the old algorithm used to rely on these things. And if you were to get these stats, these average session time, day 1 retention, all of this stuff, if you were to get these stats like all the way above this 90th percent mark, this 90th percentile mark, and I'll link this article in the description if you're interested in reading it, but if you were to get these stats all the way up to like here, the 88th percentile, the 98th, the 94th, if you were to get these stats, then your game will grow. So you will have like thousands of concurrent users, and that's basically how the old algorithm worked. Now the new algorithm is very similar to the old algorithm. It's basically the same thing, except it's a little bit longer, and I'll explain what that means. So before we even begin, what you should understand is the goal of the Roblox algorithm is to get your game in front of players that may enjoy it. That's the main goal. And you as a developer, you have the goal of trying to keep those players happy. So the old algorithm used to prioritize average session time, which is a new user plays your game, and then how long until they leave it. So in this screenshot, you can see the average session time is 7.3 minutes. That means a new user saw my game, clicked my game, played my game for 7.3 minutes, and then left on average. So out of every single new user that played the game, this is what happened on average. And then it also used to prioritize something called day 1 retention. This basically, day 1 retention is this. So let's suppose that 100 players were playing your game. So these are 100 different players that are playing your game. And then the next day, 6 of them came back. So these green guys right here, these are the 6 people that, out of these 100 people, 6 of them enjoyed your game, liked it enough to come back the next day. And the Roblox algorithm, it's like, okay, so you were able to get 5.83%. That's about 6 people. The Roblox algorithm is like, okay, you were able to get 5.83% of them to play your game and come back, which is bad because the best games have above 12.17%. And that's what day 1 retention was. This is the old algorithm, by the way. And then there's day 7 retention. So this is the same thing except 7 days. So day 7 retention is basically you get 100 people to play your game, and then after 7 days, how many of those original 100 people come back? And over here in this screenshot, you can see it's 0.9%. That's like one out of 100 people that originally played my game came back 7 days later. And that's very bad, as you can see, because it says 38th, and we want this to be all the way over here. Now for a good game, this day 7 retention would have been like 2.92%, a good game in this genre. And what that would mean is out of 100 people that were originally shown your game, 3 of them came back on the 7th day, and that tells Roblox your game is pretty good, and then Roblox is happy, and then it gives you more players. So that's how that worked. And there's also things like payer conversion rate and average revenue per paying users. This is basically how often people spend money in your game and how much money people spend. And then there's this, which is if Roblox shows people your thumbnail and then says recommended, then do people click it? And then once they play it, are they actually playing for a little while? So that's what this old algorithm was about. Now let's talk about this new algorithm. And once again, for context, if you want to know about the old algorithm, you can just read this blog post. But this is the new algorithm, and this can be kind of confusing. I can see that this can be kind of confusing, especially if you're like a high schooler or like middle schooler and you're trying to make games. This can be kind of confusing to understand. So I'm just going to break it down for you in a way that makes sense to you. All right, so Roblox's goal is basically, once again, to keep as many people happy as possible. And you'll notice that I'm assembling an army of noobs, and you'll slowly understand why. Okay, so we need one more row. So let me just copy this last row. This is my army of noobs. All right, so basically, okay, let's go back here. So I'm going to start with this one right here. Let's make sure that everyone understands this. So let's say that Roblox shows your game to a whole bunch of people, okay? So this is 100 people that are playing Roblox right now. And Roblox is showing your game right over here. See this recommended for you section? Roblox is showing your game, and then it's showing it to all of these noobs right here. The first thing that their new algorithm looks for is qualified playthrough rate. What that means is Roblox just showed your game to all of these people. Now, how many of these noobs are actually going to click it? Let's start there. Let's say that one of them clicks it. So this guy over here, he just clicked it. So this guy is now playing your game. This is your game. Actually, I'm gonna put him over here. This is your game, and these are all of the people that Roblox showed your game to. And he just clicked it. Now, qualified playthrough rate. The word qualified here is referring to engaging plays. This means that if this guy clicked your thumbnail and played your game on accident and then left after like 10 seconds, then that doesn't count because that's not an engaging play. Engaging play means this guy clicked your thumbnail, started playing your game, and then he's actually somewhat happy with it. So he plays for a little while, and then maybe then he gets bored and leaves, and that counts. Okay, so that is what this qualified playthrough rate means. It means that one user out of 100 just played your game. So what is 1 divided by 100? It's 1%. So if you have a qualified playthrough rate of 1%, that's what that means. That means 100 people were shown your thumbnail, one of them clicked it and actually played it for a while. And then if that happened, 1 out of 100, that's 1%. So your qualified playthrough rate would be 1%. And as a game developer, as a game owner, your job is to try to get these stats to be as high as possible. Okay, so the next thing Roblox looks for is 7-day playtime per user. What this means is, okay, so this guy, he just got shown your thumbnail and then he clicked it and then he played it for a little while and then he left. Now, on the second day, he's like, oh yeah, that game, the game with the spawn location was so fun, I really loved it. And then he goes back to the game and he plays it again. So for the first day, let's say he played it for 5 minutes, and the second day he played it for 5 minutes. And then the third day, he comes back, he plays it for another 5 minutes. And then the fourth day, he comes back, plays it for another 5 minutes. And he does this over a 7-day period, okay? So every single one of those 7 days, he's playing for 5 minutes. What does that mean? That means that your 7-day playtime per user is equal to 7 times 5. 7 days times 5 minutes every single day. That means that your 7-day playtime per user is equal to 35 minutes, 7 times 5. And that's what that means. 7-day playtime per user. This is the total amount of playtime per user in your experience within the last 7 days played. Now, in the past, that used to be average session time. So this is how long someone played one time in your game before quitting. So this thing used to talk about if this noob were to click your game, play it, and then he would play for 5 minutes and then he would quit, then your average session time would be 5. But here, we're now talking about a 7-day playtime. We're not talking about a one-time session. We're talking about over 7 days, over a 7-day period. Oh, and also, if you want to find where all these new stats are, you can click View Analytics for your game. And these were the old stats. I don't know if Roblox is going to change these to these new ones, or maybe they'll just keep it that way. But these were your old stats. You can see mine are pretty bad, but this is pretty decent. This is, remember, once again, this is 1.45%. This is your qualified playthrough rate, which is, out of all these people, how many people click your game and play for a little while. That's what this is. Now to find the new algorithm stuff, you click on Acquisition, and then you see this tab right here, Home Recommendations, and you can find it right over here. And this shows you everything that you need to know about the new algorithm. So remember what we talked about, the qualified playthrough rate? You can find that over here, and you can see this benchmark right here. So this is telling you that if your qualified playthrough rate is below this point right here, that means that you're worse than 50% of Roblox games, if it's like down in this area. If you're in the middle, then that means you're within the 50th and 90th percentile. And then if you're above this top area, then you're above the 90th percentile, which means your game has a higher qualified playthrough rate than 90% of Roblox games. And Roblox loves that. So for example, you can see March 18th, we had a qualified playthrough rate of 2.2%. That means out of like 100 people that were shown my thumbnail, 2 of them clicked it and played for a little while. That's basically what that means. And what we just talked about, the 7-day playtime per user, you can see mine is very bad here. But this right here is, once again, someone clicked your thumbnail, played your game for a little bit, and then over 7 days, they kept playing for a little bit, leaving, playing for a little bit, leaving, and then they just average everything out, and then you get this number right here. So this is saying that over a 7-day period, new users, this is new users, by the way, because if you go over here, you can see all 7-day metrics are for users who joined via recommended for you 7 days prior. So this is referring to new users. This is not referring to returning users, I think, based off of what I read here. So 7-day playtime per user. This is, so as you can see over here, my average is 10 minutes. That means over 7 days, new users played 10 minutes. If you add the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day, the fifth day, the sixth day, and the 7th day, they played for about 10 minutes. And I need to get this higher. So I need to get this to like 15 minutes. I need to get this to like 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then that is what we aim to do. We aim to get this number higher. Okay, so now we have 7-day play days per user. This means over a 7-day period, how many days do they return? So once again, we have our noob here who saw the thumbnail, clicked the thumbnail. Okay, now he stops playing the game, and then 1 day later, he comes back. That is your first day. And then the second day he comes back. That's your second day. So that means he's returned 2 days. And then the third day he comes back. And then the fourth day he comes back. And then the fifth day he comes back. The sixth day, the 7th day. That means out of 7 days, out of a 7-day period, this guy has returned back to my game for 7 days, which is really, really good. Most people are going to click your thumbnail, play for a little bit, leave, and then maybe they'll return back for the first day. And they'll never touch your game again, which is bad for this. So as a game developer, you want to be making people come back to your game for 7 days. So in the past, it was, in the past, it was day 1 retention, day 7 retention. This means people played your game and then 1 day later they came back. This means people played your game and then 7 days later they came back. But this here, this means this isn't referring to just the day 1 retention and day 7 retention. This is referring to all 7 days. So this is like the first day they come back, the second day they come back, the third day they come back, the fourth day. This is a more long period of time. Long story short, the old algorithm, if you got people to come back the first day after they played the game and the 7th day, you're all right. But here, now you have to start getting people to come back like every single day for 7 days after they first saw your game. And this is about new users. So your goal here is people see your game's thumbnail, they click it, they play, and then you want them to keep coming back for 7 days, like 7 days straight. So you want them to keep going, okay, nice game, okay, nice game, okay, nice game, just like that. So long story short, it's basically just getting people to come back as much as possible over 7 days. And then we have 7-day spend days. So this is basically how many days out of those 7 days are new users spending money in your game. So right here, you can see my chart right here. So this is how many days on average over a 7-day period are people spending money. And what we want is we basically want people to spend money and then leave, and then spend money, or we want people to spend money, play for a little while, and then leave. Spend money, play for a little while, and leave. We want to increase the frequency of how often people spend money in our game. So what we want is we want people to, out of these 100 people, this guy, he sees the thumbnail, clicks it, goes to my game, plays for a while, and then spends money, and then leaves the game, and the next day he comes back, plays for a long while, and then spends more money, and then leaves. And then the third day he goes back, he spends a lot of money, plays for a long while, and then leaves. And then the fourth day. So basically we're trying to make our game addicting, and we want them to spend as much money as possible. And also, this isn't my opinion, this is just me telling you what all of this means. That's all we're trying to do. And if you think about it, this is just Roblox's way of categorizing which games are fun and which are not. Because if you think about it, if Roblox is showing your game to these people and this guy clicks it and he spends a long time playing your game, that means your game is probably fun. And if this guy spends money in your game, that means your game is also probably fun. And then if he leaves and then the next day he goes to sleep, wakes up, and the next day he's like, oh, I really love that game. And then he comes back. That means your game is fun. And then he spends more time in the game. That means your game is really fun. And then he spends more money. That means he loves the game. Then your game is fun. Then he does it again, and that's what you want. So all of this boils down to that. That's all it is. Now, one new thing, so we've covered this one. This is how much Robux they spend over a 7-day period per user. And then I want to cover this one as the last thing. This is a new one. This wasn't in the old algorithm. So this one is 7-day intentional co-play days per user. So what on earth does that mean? Where's that? There, here it is. 7-day intentional co-play days per user. This is the frequency of users intentionally playing your game over the last 7 days through join, invite, or private server rather than through a matchmaking. All right. So what does that mean? That basically means he's playing your game, right? This guy's playing your game. And then he's like, oh, wow, this game is so much fun. This game has PvP. I get to slay this boss dragon here. Except I'm very weak. I can't beat this boss dragon by myself. Oh, hey, I know 100 different people that might enjoy slaying this boss dragon who might be at like level 200. Well, look, my friend right here, this guy's level 500 in this game. Okay, I'm gonna invite him to play with me. Okay, bro, do you want to play this game? He's like, okay, I do want to play this game. And then he clicks join, and then he joins your friend. And that right there, this counts as an intentional co-play day. That means this guy intentionally invited his friend to play the game. And that basically, to sum this up, this basically means get your users to invite their friends as much as possible. So if you can get people to invite, so this is actually just one thing, this is just one part of it. If you can get this guy to invite this guy, and then you can get this guy to invite more people, getting more invites means your game is better in terms of the Roblox algorithm. And then there's also join. So this is, so if I go to my Roblox page, like if I wanted to join my friend over here, if I wanted to join him in this fish game, and if I click join, then that tells Roblox your game is fun. So what you basically want is you want more people to use this join feature for your specific game. You want more people to join the invite. So you want more people to send out invites to their friends. And you also want more people to play with private servers. So you basically just want more people to play with their friends. That's what this is talking about. And if you look at the acquisition tab, you can see mine is very bad. This means that people aren't inviting their friends to play the game. And that is partly because my game is mostly single player. My game is fun without friends. So that just kind of, you know, ruins my game. But there you have it. That is basically what the algorithm wants. I'm just going to run through it one more time with you. This is what you have to do in order to maximize your chances of Roblox showing your game. So once again, here, let's just start over here. Okay, so Roblox showed your game to all of these different people. So Roblox basically showed your thumbnail in front of all these different people. And this guy, this noob right here, this is an ideal scenario, by the way. This guy right here, he saw your thumbnail, and then he clicks it. And then he goes to your game, and then he plays your game. And now this guy, in an ideal scenario, so this is what you want. He plays for a long time. Like, he plays for hours and hours and hours. So this guy's playing your game for hours and hours and hours. And then eventually he has to go to sleep. He gets bored or something. And then he goes to sleep. And then the next day he's like, oh, I remember that game. Let me play it again. And then clicks your game and then comes back to it. And remember, coming back to it, that coming back to it part is referring to this right here, 7-day play days per user. So him coming back means it's a play day. And this playtime is how long he plays. So he came back and then he spends money. And then he goes and he's like, oh, I really loved that game. Let me play again. Comes back, spends money. And he's like, oh, my friend, I'm such a weak level and I want to kill this giant dragon over here. Well, I can just invite my friend who's level 700, and then he invites this friend, and then he comes over, and then now he's playing for a long time. And then the next day he goes back, and then he goes back, and then he's like, oh, I remember that game, let me play it again. And then goes over here, plays the game for a long time, spends more money. And he's like, oh, I want to play with this guy again. And then he comes here. And then these two people invite their friends. And then this guy and this guy are like, oh, okay, let me play your game too. And that is basically how it works. Just in summary, get people to spend a lot of time over 7 days. Get people to keep coming back over 7 days. Get people to spend as much money as possible over 7 days, as frequently as possible. And get people to click on your thumbnail, which is this, and then get people to invite their friends. And all of this tells Roblox your game is fun. And if you think about it, that makes sense. If people are doing all of these things, then your game is fun. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.